Morning, YouTube. This is real good. Today we're going to talk about saving the world, and I'm going to introduce you a little bit to the UNCOVERY process. And we're going to try to keep it short. Let's do this. All right. So first on saving the world, my working hypothesis at this point is that the fullest way to save the world is to embrace the world as a distributed system of sentient beings, and for any and all influences to lean towards influencing those sentient or effective beings, or this network of influencers, toward reality, goodness, and work. Don't have to have a huge philosophical debate about what's real, what's good, what's work. It's just about shifting the orientation. So, for example, if you turned off this YouTube video and embraced your cat or felt your feelings, that would be more real, in my opinion, than leaning into pixels that's hijacking your brain and injecting a certain experience. Goodness, again, it's relative, and this is one of the places where I think it's extremely important that this be distributed and personalized. Each sentient being, each person, you and I, are welcome to recognize what is good for us and to continue to learn and grow and evolve our relationship with what's good. Is good anything that you want and desire? Or is good something that you learn through trial and error in a sort of longer term perspective? Is it something that comes from your conscience? Who knows? Up to you. You get to learn as a growing, evolving being. And then work, I don't mean having a job, although having a job may be important for keeping the system together, depending on where you are in Maslow's hierarchy. I digress. The work is largely starting at home, self-work, taking care of yourself and growing and evolving as a being. It really points to growing and evolving as a being. And leaning away from get off, from hedonism and excess, and leaning a bit more towards what might look and feel like progress and growth and evolution. So reality, goodness, and work, and however much we can influence that in the world, whether it's sharing the idea or patting someone on the back for attempting to make accomplishments in that direction, teaching it in schools, having it be embodied in the media that we consume, so on and so forth. Reality, goodness, work. So for me, where that actually starts to take off in my real life is when I ask myself, where do I actually have influence at this point in my life? First of all, we always have influence over ourselves, so we can do the work there. Reality, goodness, and work. And then in our communities, the local area around us, our closest relationships, the places that we frequent, the places that we are and things we're connected to. Instead of having our minds off caring about something that we learned from the media or heard from a friend or read in a blog post, we can keep coming back to reality, checking in with ourselves, our somatic reality, our stories that are conjuring these feelings and the stories we have about those feelings, our ideas, coming back to ourselves and continuing to do that work. Notice what's good, lean in towards good. This is part of the health, sustainability, and longevity of things. Goodness. I keep doing that work. So for me, the sort of, I guess my possibly magnum opus, but at least my crowning work in progress at the moment is this UNCOVERY process that I've been working on with friends, both in practice and theory, but largely in practice. What is UNCOVERY? Okay, this is a tough question. Let me think for a second. UNCOVERY is fundamentally noticing and verbalizing. So noticing in ourselves what's alive for us in the present moment, especially somatic, and verbalizing, acknowledging, labeling, communicating, verbalizing. And there's a lot of what it's not. It is not judging in a group environment. It's not about caretaking or applauding. It's anti-enmeshment. It's about staying with your own experience even while listening to someone else sharing what's going on for them. It's not confession. You don't need to share anything. It's about noticing what's alive in you right now. Where do you feel it? What's the story that's going on? And I have seen, felt, and heard so many positive results already in this process, as I've done it with myself, done it with others one-on-one, and done it in group environments. I'm really excited about this process and continue to practice it and refine it. And I'll definitely be sharing more with y'all here. Eventually I'll probably be offering this as a sort of service to the world, probably first in sort of one-on-one settings. But it's kind of grown out of group settings as well. What else can I say about this UNCOVERY? So just for example, UNCOVERY in a group setting can look like a group of, say, 6 individuals, each person taking turns, sharing what they're noticing in their body, their feelings, minimal story. No explanation, you don't need to justify anything. You're just welcome to share while folks listen. Especially early on, we'll time cap things, get a few minutes per person and go around the circle. Eventually, as people keep coming and evolve and mature in their ability to show up in this UNCOVERY process, we start to welcome impacts and reflections, sort of responses. But it's not meant to be a conversation. It's really about you sharing. Sometimes there's inherent healing in just feeling seen. So for example, for shame, there's a lot of healing that happens just in being seen. For some people, they have a lot of triggers around people trying to caretake or fix them. Caretaking and fixing is not welcome. We don't do that. Primarily, not because those things are necessarily inherently bad, but primarily to focus on not enmeshing. So we really learn how to be with ourselves, notice ourselves, handle ourselves, communicate what's going on. We do not act out. So when I say express, if you're feeling anger, for example, you do not act out in anger. You can express, I notice I'm feeling angry. I notice that I'm feeling tightness in my throat and heat in my chest and my back tense up. And notice that it's a projection that I'm putting on, or I have this story about so-and-so that did something to so-and-so, and I'm watching myself feel like it should have been a different way. And I notice that when I say that, I get a little bit of relaxation in my body, and I want to exhale. And in going through these things, getting in touch with our somatic experiences, uncovering the layers under our onion of ego, and being witnessed in all of this in a place that's receptive and accepting and welcoming, but not caretaking or attempting to fix you. A place that is trusting that you are fine and good and capable of taking care of yourself has been absolutely incredible. Firstly, for the self-growth, the growth of the person's psychological health. But then secondly, also for healthy intimacy, healthy emotional intimacy in community, learning how to speak to one another respectfully, navigate conflicts. If you're familiar with the concept of nonviolent communication, we use entirely I statements, ownership language, nonviolent communication. There's no injections or projecting onto each other. And then when we start these groups, over time as we meet, week after week, we start to loosen them up and they start to become their own thing. And the UNCOVERY practice ends up just being a basis for a community that ends up being really rich and full of love and health. And it's fantastic. The most recent one that we've done, I recognized every time I showed up, I just dropped into inner peace. We stopped doing the eye contact exercises, didn't even bother laying the groundwork anymore. We would all come together and then just sort of turn on the lights and lay on our backs, and someone would just start sharing their experience. And every time I would go, I'd just drop into total inner peace, a place where none of my ego was particularly crystallized and reactivity never overwhelmed or called very hard. It was an interpersonal experience of inner peace. And this kind of stuff excites the heck out of me. It feels so good, so healthy. I really deeply believe in a process like this. I'm excited to keep practicing, bring this to the world, write about this for you, really make it accessible to people. And if you want to practice, reach out if you can figure out how to get a hold of me. Go ahead and leave it in the comments. And if I'm in your area, we can start doing this. If you're in my area here, you can start joining the next group, the next iteration. So that's it. I think that's a wrap. We've talked about saving the world, reality, goodness, and work, and each of us having roles as individuals in this system, and recognizing relatively what's more real for us in any given moment, what's more good, and doing the work. And then we talked about UNCOVERY, which is a process that I'm incredibly excited about and still get a kick out of how difficult it is for me to describe. The practice itself is delightfully simple, but trying to describe it without simply doing it can be particularly challenging for me even still. So thanks for listening. If you're getting any value out of this, please hit that like button, comment, let me know. We're still totally in the early phases of developing this channel, so every comment you leave will really be heard and taken to heart and can help steer the direction of this channel and this content. And if you haven't, hit that subscribe button. We've got lots more content for you coming up, and no end in sight. This has been real good. See y'all again soon.